Today, Africa receives about $40 billion in aid. But if you increased Africa's intra-Africa trade by 5%, you would get 10 times the amount of aid we get from outside. You get actually 400 billion. But how do you trade if you don't know what the people of Congo are growing, or what do they have for over? We normally are told we bought maize from Zimbabwe. How many people know there is maize in Zimbabwe? So we need Africa to put their data out there so that we can eliminate the many middlemen that we have. From the time you buy maize from Zimbabwe to Kenya, there are 5 to 6 middlemen, and they make the cost of maize impossible, and the trading within Africa impossible. So if Africa puts their data out there that I can interrogate, that they can interrogate the Kenyan data, that they can say we need these things that Kenyans have, these things Tanzanians have, or these things Rwandese people have, we would change Africa forever. We will change Africa. Now we are being told by foreigners that there is maize in Zambia, because we are reporting this data to the World Banks or other foreign agencies or some aid agency that is gathering data locally and actually tells us from Washington that you can either buy the yellow maize from the US or we have some white maize in Zambia. These are our neighbors who are supposed to have put the data out. We go directly and buy that data. So there is no continent that needs open data than Africa. If Africa needs to succeed, there must be openness, because we have petty middlemen who are simply too expensive and creating much expense to the things which we're supposed we can just buy between the countries. Have you ever been shocked that sugar from Brazil comes all the way to Mombasa and is half the price of what we produce it in Kenya? Have you ever asked yourself why? It's because we have this pettiness and the middlemen and whatever, which we could easily trade sugar among ourselves in Africa and avoid the sugar from Brazil. So we can go to Brazil for essential things that are not available in Africa. That is what the data would help us. We have never paid attention on the cost of production. How can we reduce the cost of production for sugar in this country so that we can be as competitive as Brazil? If we are not competitive, then let us buy the Brazilian sugar and grow something that we can export to Brazil. So you begin to make decisions based on data. That's why I say Africa needs more open data than any other continent. I'll begin from basic things. I've told you, like basic agriculture, which is the basis of food security in Africa. I'll begin from that. I would even begin by saying the cost of producing a kilo of maize. Where is it lowest? Can we begin to look at comparative advantage? If Tanzania is better at producing maize, let them produce maize. If Kenya is better at producing potatoes, let them produce the potatoes. But let us have a sort of a commodities exchange where then Tanzanians can trade their maize to Kenyans and we trade our potatoes to Tanzania. People would begin to understand, with or without the government, because people know where there is value.